For decades, the economic profile of Uttar Pradesh was defined by its geography. As a massive, landlocked, agrarian state, its output was largely absorbed by domestic consumption. It was a region historically viewed as an agricultural supplier. This chart tracks India's top exporting states, and it reveals a sharp break from that history. Watch the data for Uttar Pradesh as it scales past traditional coastal hubs to secure the position of India's fifth largest export economy. These exports move directly into top-tier global markets. 19.07% goes to the United States, 8.28% to the UAE, and 5.77% flows into the United Kingdom. Scaling an inland agricultural economy into global markets requires a deliberate, engineered approach to industrial policy, driven in this case by a dual-engine strategy. Under the administration of Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath, the state has aggressively aligned its regional industrial zoning with the central government's macroeconomic mandates out of New Delhi. This alignment powers two distinct economic engines simultaneously. The first is a hyper-modern tech assembly hub expanding in Noida. The second is the strict institutionalization of centuries-old traditional local crafts. By activating both a modern electronics pipeline and a formalized artisanal sector, the state's economic architecture has transitioned from a domestic supplier to a highly integrated node in the global supply chain. To understand how the first engine works, consider a consumer in France buying a brand new smartphone. The box bears a clear Made in India label. An examination of the device's supply chain reveals a different story. The silicon processor was designed and fabricated in Taiwan. The OLED display was imported from South Korea, and the microscopic camera sensors arrived from Japan. These disparate global components converge in Noida and Greater Noida. The region functions as a high-efficiency assembly hub, prioritizing integration over native component fabrication. The physical integration begins with surface mount technology, or SMT, which is the critical first step in modern electronics manufacturing. In this phase, precision robotic arms punch thousands of microscopic components onto bare printed circuit boards. A single machine executes thousands of precise placements hourly. Because human eyes cannot verify the scale of production, it moves immediately to automatic optical inspection. Specialized cameras scan every millimeter of the PCB, flagging even a single misaligned microchip instantly. Once the internal computing board is verified by machines, the process transitions to manual assembly, where the display screens, camera modules, and batteries are connected by human operators. This final stage of assembly, software installation, strict quality testing, and packaging, requires massive human capital, employing thousands of technicians under a single roof. While the advanced silicon is imported, the physical bulk of the product, the chargers, cables, external bodies, and packaging, are manufactured in local facilities. This volume is driven by global and domestic players like Samsung, Lava International, and Dixon Technologies, who utilize the region for massive contract manufacturing. Noida's current output is a study in import-to-export logistics. By proving it can handle global assembly at immense scale, the state has laid the physical groundwork required for future deep tech integration. The second engine relies on resources that have existed in the state for centuries. Historically, India's traditional crafts operated in an unorganized sector, highly skilled but lacking the formal capital and standardization needed to export at a global scale. To solve this, the government implemented the One District, One Product, or ODOP scheme, a rigorous policy designed to systematize rural manufacturing. This policy maps out specific geographic clusters across the state. Bhadohi is optimized for handmade carpets, Moradabad for brass products, and Kanpur and Agra for leather footwear. Treating these districts as specialized industrial zones moves their output into the global market. Carpets from Bhadohi reach the US and Europe, while processed agricultural goods, like buffalo meat, reach massive markets in Egypt and Vietnam. The mechanism that makes this possible is formal state intervention. The government provides these clusters with formal credit access, export subsidies, and subsidized testing labs for quality certification. Providing this institutional framework allows isolated local artisans to generate the exact compliance documentation and standardized quality metrics demanded by international distributors. By injecting capital and standardizing output, ODOP operates as a critical economic bridge, converting fragmented craft hubs into reliable nodes of global commerce. Neither the tech hubs nor the craft clusters can survive without solving the time and cost required to move physical goods to a seaport. For a landlocked state, this logistics drag historically damaged profit margins. The administration attacked this physical bottleneck by accelerating high-speed freight corridors, relying on massive arteries like the Yamuna Expressway and the Eastern Peripheral. These expressways function as direct pipelines. They allow heavy freight to bypass congested urban centers, delivering manufactured goods directly into the national maritime logistics network. Simultaneously, the state upgraded air logistics with new cargo terminals, required for exporting high-value tech products like smartphones, where transit speed dictates market value. With the physical roads cleared, the state aggressively allocated industrial land to companies looking to capitalize on New Delhi's Production-Linked Incentive, or PLI scheme, which financially rewards manufacturers based on their output volume. Combining central financial incentives with frictionless physical infrastructure has altered the cost-benefit equation for the state, neutralizing the traditional logistics penalty. Through this strategy, Uttar Pradesh operates a highly effective hybrid economy, a massive import-to-export tech assembly hub running in parallel with modernized, globally compliant traditional craft exports. The primary challenge for economic planners over the next decade is moving up the value chain, transitioning from high-volume assembly into the complex world of deep tech manufacturing. For smartphones and electronics, true deep tech means indigenous creation. It requires moving beyond assembling foreign parts, building domestic semiconductor plants, lithium-ion battery cells, and OLED panel factories. This requires astronomical capital expenditure. Building these facilities demands multi-billion-dollar investments, specialized chemical supply chains, and zero-dust environments testing the limits of modern engineering. Today, the state's tech output still relies on the silicon supply chains of East Asia. The 2030 objective demands that a critical percentage of those internal components be forged domestically. Securing the capital and talent for a deep tech leap is a significant hurdle, but the expressways, the air cargo networks, and the bureaucratic streamlining implemented over recent years have created the necessary foundation to attempt it. The state's trajectory from an inland agricultural hub to a top 5 exporter suggests a clear path. If the current momentum translates into deep tech capital, Uttar Pradesh will secure its place as a competitive node in the global electronics market.